Thank you.
There is a moment in every life when you decide to rise, to stand taller than your fear, to speak louder than your doubt, to chase the vision that sets your soul on fire. This is that moment. And here, we walk it together with stories that awaken, voices that inspire. I'm so excited. We have a great guest for you today. He's been on the show before, and he's got a great book out, and we're going to talk about his book. We're going to talk about his life, which is substantial in all the things he's done. And we're going to talk about Kundalini yoga. I can actually even say that. I'm surprised. And Stuart Perrin is with us. And Stuart, it's great to have you back again with us. And we've got a commercial that we've created for you that we're going to play a couple of times during the course of this show. And I want to thank you for coming here and welcome to Positive Talk. How are you today?
I'm doing well, Kevin. Thank you. Again, thank you for having me. It's a joy to be here with you and to have something on the radio that is positive talk. I think that's just wonderful, you know?
Well, thank you very much for that, because I know you know my story. I've been doing this since 2003, and I started Positive Talk during the beginning of the Iraq War. And that was a very difficult time there wasn't a tremendous amount of positivity and taking care of each other and kindness and all that kind of stuff, because we were at war with Saddam Hussein and going to Iraq and stuff. So, but I think that was why the show was born at that time, because it was so needed. We needed something positive that we could look at, don't you think?
I think so. A lot of my visionary search in life stemmed out of the 1960s, stemmed out of the war in Vietnam, the whole idea of why are we killing people? Why are we just hurting people? Why are people trying to hurt each other if they really have nothing to hurt each other about, And it really initiated in me a spiritual quest, something of a higher nature, something more profound, something that could enable me to deal with the tensions of the world and at the same time live with peace with myself, to have an inner quality that enabled me to just be connected to some kind of higher force in the universe, a spiritual energy that enabled me to function every day. And to realize, I realized early on, Kevin, that, that the ultimate goal of all of this, we're born here to learn how to open our hearts. We're born here to learn how to transform all the suffering, the pain, the difficulty that just about everybody goes through into a heart that's open, into love. And I've always not only written it, but I've said it over and over again. Happy people are enlightened people. People that can sustain inner joy, that can sustain love, that have compassion for other human beings, that live their life with kindness. I think the Dalai Lama talks all the time about kindness, being kind to other people. This requires a system inside ourselves that is very, very strong. It requires humility. It requires a certain degree of innocence, and it requires an enormous amount of internal strength to sustain that kind of openness in oneself. And, when I was younger, I was a pretty messed up kid. When I was younger, I was very insecure. I could never understand, even at 16, 18, I never understood why I was here. All the tension, all the problems, all the the family problems and all the things that used to go on, the constant pressure of having to succeed in life, and I never knew what success meant. Did it mean making billions of dollars, or did it mean living with an open heart, learning how to be at peace with myself, learning how to live a life that truly respected other human beings, that enabled me to listen to other human beings, to learn from them. To me, as I began to grow in life, that had more relevance to what success was. than making, billions of dollars and tons of money and power and all the stuff that people use just to control other people. So it said, Stuart, you got to learn how to do this.
What and Stuart, I want to go back into the mists of time because you and I are old enough to remember the 60s. And I'll tell you, if you're too young to remember what it was like then, I'm so sorry that you didn't get to experience that, because the 60s were yes, we had our problems. We were in Vietnam, but there was also the youth of America was very much into, like in 1967, the Summer of Love, and Haight Ashbury, and great music, and people taking care of each other and being kind to each other. And that's where the expression "make peace not war" came from, and John Lennon singing "Give Peace a Chance." And so there's so many great moments in time of people trying to take care of each other. I miss those days in many ways. Do you?
Yes, I do, Kevin. I really do. And that element of the 60s is affected me so profoundly inside that it really set my life in a course where I said, I need to learn how to build a system inside myself that is strong enough to sustain that, no matter how long I live. And it forced me to find a teacher, somebody who was wise enough to impart that kind of energy, that kind of wisdom to me, somebody who could put up with me and recognize that beyond my insecurity and my problems, there was a human being who truly wanted to do service in the world and wanted to live a life that was truly connected to a higher energy in the universe. And that element of the 60s, that give peace a chance, that, it affected me so deeply. And that's what I took out of it. I really took out of a thing in myself that said, Stuart, you have to find a way, to stay above all the craziness of life, and a way of transforming all the craziness of life into an open heart, into compassion, and to a life full of joy and love and happiness. Because I think we're all born here to learn this. We come to how to transform our suffering into an open heart. And that element in the 60s truly I even wrote a book about it, Kevin, which I never even talk about, called Madness Falling from the Sky. And it takes place in the 1960s. And it's kind of a coming of age story of three young people in the 60s. And it deals with all of this stuff. It deals with the Vietnam War, with the problems, the art, the music, all the things that used to go on. It came from a place very deep inside myself, out of a gratitude that I lived through all of that, and that I learned so much from the protests, but from Give Peace a Chance, from the love element of the 60s.
What do you remember? And I know you probably do, but the first worldwide broadcast of any kind that happened in the 60s, and it was the Beatles performing All You Need Is Love. And that became an anthem in my mind, that became an anthem for an entire generation, that all we need is love. And it's unfortunate that as that generation progressed through the 80s or the 70s and the 80s, and then they got caught up in the money thing, and some of that went away. But there are some people like yourself that had such a profound impact that you went in search of love and taking care of each other and kindness, and finding the teachers to help you be able to help other people to do that. And that is a great legacy of your life, don't you think?
I think so, Kevin, because you know the story of how I got involved. I've told it a lot about when I was 16 and my father died, and the last 2 hours of his life, he was in a state of serenity and peace I had never seen before. The whole room in the hospital, hospital room was full of light. I had never seen energy like that or felt energy of that nature in my life. And it transformed me. I said, Stuart, there has to be a way of learning how to build a system in yourself that enables you to live that way. And even deep inside, I knew that element of the 60s was going to pass one day. Everything passes. And people were going to get involved in money and, all the tension that goes on in the world. And I knew that was going to pass, but I didn't want it to pass for me. I wanted to learn how to live with that level of serenity in my life, that depth of inner awakening. And I knew I needed to find somebody who can help me do it. I traveled half around the world for 9 years looking for that person. I was in Africa, I was in all over Europe, I lived in Paris off and on for 5 years. And I was always looking for a person like that who could teach me how I can build that in myself.
Isn't it amazing that the person that you found was in your very own backyard?
And yes, and he had a gallery in Greenwich Village, Kevin, that I had walked past 500 times. I never went in. I really mean it. 500 times I walked. I used to live not far from there. And every time I went to Greenwich Village to meet friends and go out and have dinner or something, I would walk past that gallery. One day I was in a condition, the story was very interesting. When I was in Mexico, I met a friend of mine. I met a man who was a pretty good artist, and he and I became good friends, he and his wife and I. And after I left Mexico, I went back to New York, and he went to live in San Francisco. He and his wife went to live in, and he wrote me a letter saying, come out to San Francisco. I said, people are going to love your poetry. I'll introduce you to all the poets and the people that are, the Ferlinghetti and Ginsberg and the whole crew. And I said I was ready to pack my bags and go. The day before I was ready to go, I walked into this gallery and met this person. And his very presence did something to transform me. And he showed me pictures of himself studying in India with a Swami and told me about his teachings. And something changed in me. I mean, it was like, and to be honest with you, what I saw coming out of him was the same energy I saw coming out of my father just before he died. That serenity, that peace, except this was a living person who had mastered this in his life. And he told me, if you want to study with me, come back with me the next evening. I went back the next evening. It changed my life. And what he taught me was exactly what I was looking for. How to live in this world and get strong enough in myself to develop what is known as a chakra system, an energy center inside myself that was strong enough to transform the tensions of the world into a life-giving energy, strong enough to take all of the suffering, the difficulty I was experiencing in myself and other people, and learn how to transform it in myself into an open heart, into love. And I knew I had to build my inner life. It wasn't just something that happens. It's not like going in a room and turning on a light, You've got to work at it. You have to work at it. And it took years to learn the things he was teaching me.
Well, the interesting thing about all of that, and his name is Rudi, by the way, your teacher, and I want to go back a little bit to your dad, that serenity piece, because that we all, when I know this for a fact, is when we pass away, there's a point in time when we're ready to go, and that serenity takes over, and then we get to go on to our next adventure. And it's not the end, it's just the transition to something better. And I'm glad that you had the opportunity to see that, because, and by the way, I want to mention this, and then we're going to go to break, and we're going to play a very special commercial. But when I believe, And when we come back, I want you to answer this for me. I believe that everything in your life has been pointing to your discovery of what life is, so that you could then turn around and give back to other people through your writings, through your meditations, and those things, because that's why you were born. That was your mission before you even got here, and all the experiences that you had up until that, and including with Rudi, and after Rudi passed, and all the things that you have become and who you are, that was all destined to be, because that was in your heart, in your soul to do. So I'm we'll give you lots of time to answer that question when we come back. But we have created something for Stuart that I'm very, very proud of. So Stuart Perrin is our guest, and go to his website, which is stuartperrin.com, PERRIN.com, and listen to this, everybody. Most people live their lives trying to escape tension. Rudra Meditation teaches you how to use it. In Rudra Meditation, Stuart Perrin shares over 40 years of lived practice. Not theory, not philosophy. He shares a non-denominational meditation practice that transforms emotional, mental, and physical pressure into clarity, joy, and love. This meditation isn't monastic, sequestered, or a means of hiding from life. It's a craft one learns that helps embrace day-to-day reality. It enables us to be responsible, to deal with loss, to master internal chaos. If tension runs your life, this book shows how to meet it and change it from the inside. Get a copy today. Discover a form of meditation that will transform discomfort and unhappiness into an open heart. And welcome back to Positive Talk. By the way, you can go virtually anywhere and pick up your copy of Rudra Meditation, which is, of course, Stuart Perrin is the author, and that is an important work for humanity, and it's going to be here for a very long time. And I know how proud you are of this work, and thank you for writing it.
Well, there's a Kindle version of it. There's an Audible version of it, and there's also a print version of it. And it can be gotten through many, many different sources: Amazon, Walmart. Just there's a whole bunch of them where they can get it.
And I would like to suggest this to everybody. If there is a particular mom and pop bookstore that's in your neighborhood, this is what I want you to do. I want you to walk into the store and say, hey, do you have Rudra Meditation by Stuart Perrin? And they'll look it up in their computer and they'll say, well, we don't have it here, but we can order it. Well, why don't you order 10 copies, and then you can put the 9 of them on the shelves, and I'll buy one, and then other people can enjoy Rudra Meditation. And so do that, and I'll bet you they'll do it, and then there'll be 9 other people that'll thank you for making sure that book was available to them. Is that a good idea, Rudi or Stuart?
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. Thank you, Kevin.
And we're also able to help the mom and pop stores, which you can always go to Amazon and stuff, but helping somebody actually make a living by selling books is a really good thing too. So Stuart Perrin is our guest. He has been around for a little while, since the 60s, and actually before, and I really enjoy talking with you and the experience you had of Rudi. Now, I say Rudi because I can't pronounce his full name, but you can, I know. What is Rudi's full name?
Well, his birth name was Albert Rudolph.
And what was his spiritual name?
Swami Rudrananda. He was made a Swami in India.
And which is so cool. And then he came back here, and he was running a shop when you ran into him, and you and he became virtually inseparable. Isn't that right?
It's true. We were very close, Kevin, very close. And I mean, from the day I met him, the first thing that happened, he showed me a photograph the moment I met him of him lying on the floor at the foot of a Swami in India with a picture of Bhagwan Nityananda, Swami Nityananda, superimposed in his heart. And I can't tell you how important that became for me, because for so many years, Rudi would say to me, he said, Stuart, you remind me of Swami Nityananda when he was a young man. And I said to him, I was a kid. I said, yeah, that sounds great, but I don't know. I didn't quite understand what he. Anyway, throughout my studies with him, Swami Nityananda came to me literally from an astral plane, came to me and helped me get through so many difficult situations. Every time I was up against kind of impossible situations, I would meditate. And he would just literally come out of my heart, and he would give me an answer that would change my life, that made me deal with an impossible circumstance. And this is really a part of the teachings that I got from Rudi, because teachings are passed on from generation to generation. And he had Swami Nityananda super in his heart. He was Rudi's master guru. And me studying with Rudi enabled that energy of Swami Nityananda to pass through and to truly guide me in my life and in my progress as somebody truly in search of a spiritual life. So it all worked. And it happened from the moment I met him. He showed me this picture. And he was just telling, and he also told me a year later, I said to him, Rudi, what happened the day I met you? He said, Stuart, I saw you looking in the window of my gallery. And I said, it was like seeing my son lost in the universe. And I pulled you in the door.
That's remarkable. And being a young man at that time, I'm sure you said, no, you didn't do that. I just came in here all by myself.
No, I didn't say that. I said, thank you for doing that. You basically saved my life. What I learned from him transformed my life. It changed my life. And you see, the work he taught me, Kevin, was so interesting because it wasn't running away from the world. It wasn't getting out of the world. It was transforming life into something sacred. Every part of it. He used to tell me, I want to eat from the entire smorgasbord of life. So there's nothing for me to come back here for. And he taught me how essential it is to learn that every aspect of life is one's teacher. Every aspect of life is sacred, the good, the bad, the indifferent, the ugly. From the wars in Vietnam to Iraq to the wonderful, give peace a chance and the love element that existed and still exists today. Everything is sacred, and everything exists in this world as a teacher, to teach each and every one of us what we have to do to overcome the problems that exist in ourselves, the obstructions that keep us from living our life in a state of inner peace. And what I loved about it is, look, I was born in the tenements of the Bronx, for God's sake. I wasn't born from some lotus leaf in the Himalaya mountains or a cave or an ashram in India. I was born in the street kid in the Bronx. My playground was the streets in the tenements of the Southeast Bronx, and, it was really amazing, I always said, Stuart, you're never going to make it in a monastery, living in an ashram, although I ran an ashram for 9 years. But I said, you're not going to fulfill your life. You need to let life become your teacher, every aspect of it. When I was a kid, I used to write poetry. I wanted to be, a writer. I never gave a damn about money or, making a living. Or I would make enough to survive. And I needed to learn how to overcome that, how to be part of life and not allow life to consume me and destroy me. And one of the parts of it is you learn how to earn a living. You learn how to live pretty well in life. And I learned that from my teacher, Rudi. And I told you the story last time I was on here when I was running a meditation center for him in Texas. And
Yeah, tell it again. It's important.
yeah, I was running a center for him in Texas. And I had students, and he asked me to go there for 3 weeks. 6 months later, he came down to visit me there. And I said to him, Rudy, it's been a hell of a 3 weeks. You know, he said to me, you're on your 4th day. And I clearly understood how the earth was created in 7 days. I had to be there to work out the cycle of my karma. And when I finished with it, a door would open for me to leave. Anyway, on that same trip, we're standing on the porch of my house. And I had set up 3 or 4 different ashrams for him all over Texas. I was teaching in prisons and hospitals. I was teaching an accredited course in Kundalini Yoga at a university in Dallas. I was teaching 19 hours a day, plus running an ashram, and I also had to support myself. I was running a business. I was doing all of this. I was like an octopus, the way I was living. And he was standing on the porch of this house, and he told me, Stuart, you're not working hard enough.
Not working hard enough or not working smart enough?
No, you're not working hard enough. That's what he said. So I said, well, Rudi, what should I do? Tell me. He said, buy that building. And the building was like a strip mall that was connected to the meditations, right neighbor of the meditation center. So I said, Rudi, I have $600 in the bank. How the hell am I going to do this? He said, anyone could do it with money. That's what he told me. Anyone could do it with money. And what he was teaching me, I have to get over the fear of financial success. I have to get that out of my system. I have to learn how to continue to do deep spiritual practice, opening to a higher energy, and at the same time, how to succeed financially in the world. And a month later, I bought the building. And people always say, how did you do that? I said, every day I sat and worked, and I knew the only place I could get the energy to do this, honestly, I didn't want to go rob a bank. And it honestly was from a higher source of energy. And that energy kept coming down, and it began to teach me exactly what I needed to do to make this project work. And a month later, I bought the building. I raised the money to buy the building. And this is something I had never done in my life. It scared the hell out of me when I was younger to do this kind of thing. And at the same time, it taught me, where are you going to get the energy to sustain an open heart and to do deep spiritual practice? Where are you going to get that energy from? Where are you going to build an inner life that is strong enough to succeed financially in the world, and at the same time, keep your heart open, keep that love inside you, that desire to serve a higher energy in the universe? And I realized it was through this meditation that my teacher, Rudi, taught me. It was the only place, because it opened up a channel to that higher force that enabled me to build a chakra system inside me that was strong enough to do what I'm talking about. So, no, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, I was going to say, Stuart, that in your experience, in your world, we all are capable of that. And we're all capable of doing that. But many of us don't know how, which is why the work that you're doing is so important.
It's the truth. I mean, I didn't know how. I had to learn how. I mean, one of the greatest things he ever told me, he said, just before I went to Texas, he said, if anyone ever asks you who the guru is, what the guru is, you tell them the guru is life. And I had no idea what he was talking about, Kevin, when he told me this. And it took me 20 years to learn that I am not the guru. I am not the guru. Rudi was not the guru. His teacher was not the guru. Our job is to teach people how to get strong enough to sit in front of the real guru, which is life. And everything that life has to teach each and every single human being. And I came to realize there are 8 billion people in this world. They all see a unique reality. No two people see the world the same. And life is teaching everybody exactly what they need. It's like a mirror of one's inner being. And it's teaching everybody exactly what they need to learn, to grow. and to be able to transform the difficulty, the suffering, the unhappiness into an open heart. The ultimate goal is transforming all of these things into an open heart, into love. And it took me 20 years from that day he told me that to learn the real meaning of what he was talking. But I had to work on myself. And I realized what Rudi did for me is the same thing I'm trying to do for the people that study with me. Help them build a system inside themselves that will enable them to ultimately sit in front of life, letting life become the guru, not Stuart, but life. And each and every human being is going to experience it differently. But the ultimate goal is the transformation of what they experience into love, into an open heart, into positive talk radio, into
because love, at the end of the day, Stuart, and you know this, and we need to take our halftime break, and then I'm going to play something for you. But love is all there is. Kindness is all there is. Taking care of each other, recognizing that we are all one, that we are all connected. That is what this is. That's one of the things that in my world that I'm learning here is that kindness is free. Giving somebody a smile costs nothing, but it can have an impact that can last days, weeks, months, years, or a lifetime. And that is so important. Stuart Perrin is our guest, and we are going to take our halftime break. You are so encouraging, and everything that you talk about is so real, and I love the fact that because I've often said the day of the guru is dead, and what I mean by that is the guru is life.
That's right.
Just as you described it. And we'll be right back right after this. Stay with us, everybody. You're listening to Positive Talk, and then we're going to play his commercial again about Rudra Meditation. But right now, here's our station break. You're listening to Positive Talk Radio Network. We're on a mission to entertain, enlighten, empower, and educate through inspiring music, dynamic conversations, and yes, laughter. Join me, Kevin McDonald, and Brashal as we declare our freedom from hate, division, and fear, and celebrate a better way of living. Go to positivetalkradio.net to find out more. Here's another point to ponder by Positive Talk Radio. A sailor in a storm once battled waves so fierce they nearly sank his ship. He discovered storms, they don't last forever, but strong sailors do. Life will shake you, test you, and even try to break you. But if you hold steady and keep moving forward, the skies will clear, and when they do, you will see how powerful you have become. You are listening to Positive Talk Radio, where stories of hope come alive. And welcome back to Positive Talk. My name is Kevin McDonald, and Stuart Perrin is with us, and he's the author of Rudra Meditation. He's also been doing Kundalini yoga for a million years. No, maybe not a million, but I think that you've been doing what you've been doing more than just this lifetime. That would be my guess. What did you think of that commercial that we call The Storm? That life will test you, it'll try and break you, but if you can rise above it, and that's part of the process.
I once wrote in one of my books, I wrote a book called Navigating the River of Time, and in that book, right at the beginning, I talk about a tree. If it has healthy roots, if the roots are really strong and healthy, a hurricane is not going to blow it down. If the roots are weak, if they're sickly, if they any wind that's going to come along is going to blow it. And life is a hurricane. And unless people build that kind of foundation and grounding inside themselves, every little stupid, difficult thing that comes along becomes a major drama that just consumes their energy, and their energy just drains out of them. So, we need to build foundation. Kundalini meditation The way I can talk about this is very simple, Kevin. It's three elements that really create the inner life of a human being. The first one is karma. We all live. We have activity. We function in the world. We do things. We have problems. We have things. We fall in love. We have marriages. We have family. We run businesses. We have jobs. We act in the world. Life itself is a very powerful energy, and it consumes people. It drains all their energy out of them. These big corporations, people 40 years old, they're beginning to, get dry up. Their energy is being consumed by the corporations, and life itself is a very, very powerful energy, and we need to get grounded inside. Now, when you talk about the mastery of something like Kundalini and inner work, what I learned, and this is not everybody doesn't do this, but what I learned is there's a system of energy centers in a human being called chakras.
Mm-hmm.
My teacher, Rudi, told me chakras are psychic muscles. And if you don't work them, if you don't, use them and work them, they're going to atrophy, just like physical muscles are going to atrophy. If you don't exercise, if you don't work out, you don't eat the right food and take care of yourself. And that became an important teaching for me, because I understood through meditation and a consistent practice of meditation, one develops this chakra system. We have the tools. We don't have to go shopping for the tools to learn how to build a chakra. We're born with them. And one of them is the human mind, a very powerful instrument. It's also the thing that's making everybody crazy, because it's conflicted, it's polarized, it has all the answers and none of the answers. It has so much tension that it really just, almost like beheads people when people just trying to live their day, and all they are is this energy of the mind that it never stops. We have to learn to master that energy. Now, the mind being a powerful instrument, it becomes like becomes like an instrument of surgery when we learn how to focus at the core of our being with our attention. The core of our being is a chakra, an energy center that's directly below the navel. The Japanese call this the hara, the Chinese call this the tatien, and they talk about something called qi. Qi is the power that really all the martial arts is based on. And it's the power of harmony, balance, it's real strength inside a human being. When a person learns to focus their attention on the chakra below, the mind becomes a surgical instrument that will open this chakra. And it's like the lotus flower that a Buddha, every time you see a statue of a Buddha, there's always a lotus flower that the Buddha sits on. It's the foundation, of wisdom and the knowledge being taught in Buddhism. The chakra right below the navel. So bringing the mind there opens that chakra, giving one the strength to be able to deal with their karma. Because what happens is the next stage is opening the heart. How do you open the heart? The quickest way to open the human heart, and I tell this to everybody, is gratitude. The fastest way. And there isn't a person alive that doesn't have something they're grateful for. And that will open up. And then the breath becomes the power, the prana, the energy that will strengthen the heart chakra and also strengthen the chakra right below the navel. Those are the tools of meditation. We have to learn to use them properly. And that's what a teacher does. A teacher trains a person in how to use these tools properly. And what happens now, the second element to this is spiritual energy.
Mm-hmm.
Understand, everybody thinks it's some kind of hors d'oeuvre and sweetness. Spiritual energy is very powerful energy. And, like in the Bhagavad Gita, when Krishna reveals himself to Arjuna in that chariot, It's like the light of a thousand suns suddenly appeared in the sky. This extremely powerful energy. And a human being needs to be grounded inside in order to receive that energy, the knowledge, the wisdom that stems from the creative source of energy in the universe. This really powerful. So we need to be strong inside in order to receive. We need to be strong inside to be able to deal with our karma. Third element is Kundalini. Kundalini is a dormant energy at the base of the spine. And the activation of Kundalini is, again, the activation of a very powerful force in a human being. It's it's really the energy that enables a human being to attain a state of enlightenment, Kundalini. It's energy that moves from the base of the spine to the crown chakra. And it opens crown and allows the soul of a human being to connect with the soul of the universe. That energy is a very powerful energy. And honestly, Kevin, I tell people, I have only two rules in what I do. And this is true. No drugs, no hallucinogenic drugs is one of them. And the reason for that is LSD, marijuana, all of that stuff. Any kind of it works in the same areas that Kundalini meditation works. It activates those same energies. And what it does is people are not prepared for that activation. The energy is so powerful that it drains people's energy. People get wasted. They always talk about getting wasted when they do drugs.
Oh man, I was wasted last night. It was terrible.
And so that's one of the rules. Also it doesn't allow me to get many students because people enjoy drugs. And it's all right if that's what you want to do. Do it. I'm not here to judge you and tell you how to live your life.
Well, but Stuart, there's a process though, and doesn't LSD and some of the other hallucinogens that short circuits the process? It's kind of like the lazy man's way to try and achieve enlightenment, because rather than doing the work and feeling the energy and working with the energy and creating the systems by which you can operate more universally. Am I correct in that?
You're absolutely right, Kevin. Absolutely right. Learning how to quiet the mind, learning how to keep the heart open, learning how to build foundation. This takes training. If you want to be a doctor, you got to get training. Otherwise, you're dangerous. You got to go 12 years to school to learn what you're doing. Same thing with any profession. When I was a kid, I wanted to study acting, and I used to go to acting classes. But I needed training. I had no idea what I was doing on the stage. I had to learn from a teacher how to do it. Meditation is the same thing. We have to learn how to develop within ourselves the power to connect with spirit, to live in our karma, to find all of life being something sacred, and the energy of Kundalini, making it possible for us to attain a state of spiritual life. All of these are powerful energies. If we don't build a system to deal with these energies, there are sanitariums full of people that have had Kundalini experiences. These energies can tip the boat. They can really do damage to people. If people don't have the strength, they have to learn how to do it and build the strength to do it.
And to learn how to do it sometimes, most of the time requires a teacher that can then work with you to do that. So, by the way, are you still taking students?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I still have people come. I do Zoom classes, Kevin. I have them literally. People come from 4 different continents to these classes that I do. And there are what, 7 of them a week that I do.
And you're still going strong. It's pretty amazing. Stuart Perrin is our guest, and go to stuartperrin.com, and I assume they go there and they can find out the Zoom calls and when they can be part of that. and to work with you. Even you don't have to go to where he is, because energy is universal, and you can access it and access his energy from anywhere.
And they also do retreats. I had a retreat last weekend where people came from different places in the world in
Did
person.
you have fun with that?
It's a lot of work.
Boy, no kidding. No kidding. Well, and I've got this great thing that I'm going to play for everybody right now. And so everybody stay with us. And this we created for Stuart. And we'll be right back after that. And then we will have just a few minutes left with Stuart. You are amazing. You're going to have to come back, and we're going to have to talk some more, because you are helping people recognize what they can do within themselves. And that's a really big deal.
Well,
And so,
thank you for letting me be here, Kevin. I really appreciate it.
well, we will be right back, and so stay with us, everybody. Most people live their lives trying to escape tension. Rudra Meditation teaches you how to use it. In Rudra Meditation, Stuart Perrin shares over 40 years of lived practice. Not theory, not philosophy. He shares a non-denominational meditation practice that transforms emotional, mental, and physical pressure into clarity, joy, and love. This meditation isn't monastic, sequestered, or a means of hiding from life. It's a craft one learns that helps embrace day-to-day reality. It enables us to be responsible, to deal with loss, to master internal chaos. If tension runs your life, this book shows how to meet it and change it from the inside. Get a copy today. Discover a form of meditation that will transform discomfort and unhappiness into an open heart. And welcome back, everybody, to Positive Talk. Stuart Perrin. And by the way, Stuart Perrin, he wrote that book that was just on that commercial. And I want to talk about that now because Rudra Meditation, you wrote the book because you want to help people live a better life and to utilize it. What's it about, and what caused you to write the book?
You know, I have a lot of videos of me. They're on YouTube, they're on Facebook. And I went through a bunch of them. There's like 1,400 of them on YouTube and Facebook of me giving talks about what I do. And usually they're talks after the Zoom classes, question and answers from people. But I went through them and I said, this would make an interesting book. And I went through them, and I have, an ability. I've written a dozen books, and I have the craft. I know the craft of writing books. And I took these words and I transformed them into something that was really very literary and very, but not in Sanskrit, not in language that is difficult for people. It's in everyday language that people can understand. And the only way I can say this book was written, Kevin, and you might not believe me when I tell you this, it wrote itself.
Oh, no, I believe it 100%.
It wrote itself. And I think that my teacher, Rudi, and Swami Rudrananda, they kind of dictated this book to me. Their energy, it was their energy that came through and manifested as Rudra Meditation, transforming life's tension. And I was just a vehicle through which it came into the world. And it reminded me of painters like Van Gogh and, Cezanne. They would look at this canvas and they say, well, they didn't understand where it came from. It just kind of came through them and manifested. Well, I believe there's a source of creative energy in the universe that most human beings block out. They disconnect from it. But if the chakra system is highly developed inside, we connect to that source of creative energy in the universe. And that source of creative energy manifested as the words that made my book possible. And that's how it was written. When I finished with it, I said, my God, you wrote this, Stuart. This is shocking that this came through you. And it had to do with a couple of things. One, it's partially memoir. And I began to think in creating the book that if I show my life experiences and how they related to learning this meditation practice and how the meditation practice helped me in so many different areas of my life, people can relate to that. If I'm not just talking in wisdom talk and, quoting, Sanskrit words and using, people people don't relate to that. It's too intellectual. And I said it has to be something that people can relate to. So part of it is memoir, living experience of what I went through, and then part of it is wisdom stuff that flowed through me, but wisdom in a language that is everyday language. It's not an holier than thou language and all that kind of language. It's the way people talk every day.
Well, you got to meet people where they are, and without trying to educate them on things that they don't know. So you talk to them like a normal person. And I firmly believe, Stuart, that this book was given to you because and it came through you, and some of the great songwriters of our time and other people. Are you familiar with the song "Yesterday"?
Oh, of course. Of course.
Paul McCartney woke up with that song in his head. Originally, it was scrambled eggs, and until he put words to it. But he went around for days and talked to John, and he talked to other people. Where did I get this book? Or where did this song? I've heard this song before. Where did I hear it from? And nobody had any idea. And so he finally took ownership of it. And it's because that was given to him while he was sleeping from a source on the other side. And I firmly believe, I know that exists, and I know how powerful it is. And when the time is right, if you open your heart, sometimes it will come to you, and the meaning will come through you. And that's what happened to you. And it's happened to you more than once. By the way, if you go to his website, you're not going to leave for a while, because there's lots of stuff to do there. There's dozens of videos and audios and book reviews, and there's just a ton of stuff. So go to stuartperrin.com, and you can find out all about him and his work. And Stuart, can I say this, please? If you feel called, if you are listening to this broadcast now or in the future, and you've been thinking about why you're here, what are you here to do, and that's been circling around in your head for days, weeks, months, or years, and then you run across this and you hear Stuart talking about it, don't procrastinate. Act on it, because that's a sign that this is when you are supposed to hear this message. Do you agree with that, Stuart?
Yes. I don't think there are any accidents, Kevin. I think people have to say, it's like when I met Rudi, I could have said, well, this was an accident. And I used to sit in his gallery, Kevin, and I would always do meditation with him there and try to work on myself around him. And people would come in and he would say, can I help you? And in a nice way, they were possible clients, and almost always I would hear people say, we're just looking. And I would look at Rudi and I saw light coming out of him. I saw this wisdom inside him. I saw the fact that this man had given me my life, basically made it possible for me to have a life. And people were just looking. And I think the whole world is that way. Everybody's just looking. And they don't realize the moment they are ready to learn how to go deep inside themselves, the moment the teacher will manifest for them. That teacher will be there for them. And that's
I couldn't agree more.
The disciple is ready. The guru will be there. And it's really true. And I can only tell it from my own life. When I was ready, bingo.
And I will tell you this, because I firmly believe this. When you make the decision, because all in life, you came here for a reason. You came here with a purpose. You wanted to make an impact in the world before you were even born. And a lot of times we get caught up in the circus of life and we forget all about that. But when you go back and you say, okay, why am I here? What am I here to do? And this has been my experience. If you say, what am I here to do? The universe will say, finally, he's opening up to the fact of what he's actually here to do. So now we can work to make all of that and to manifest all that for him. And you will see some of the most magical things happen. And sometimes some not so magical things, because you need to learn them before you can get to the magical things. But it's all designed for your self-improvement and for you to become who you were destined to be. Is that true?
Yes. I once wrote a book of aphorisms that I published a long time ago. And one of them was, life is a circus, but nobody goes to the circus to have a lousy time.
Oh, and that is so true. And we all go, and we get to choose. We get to choose whether or not this life is a magical adventure or it's a pain in the butt. And I choose that it's a magical adventure, and that even things that may not be perfect, we can learn from them, and it's still a magical adventure. Is that how you view it?
Yes, we need imperfection, Kevin. We need it, because
yes, we do.
Imperfection makes us work on ourselves. If we were perfect, nobody would do a damn thing about themselves. But all of the imperfections are part of that cosmic soup that every human being needs, because it's the imperfections that make us do. It was the imperfections that made me meet my spiritual teacher. I needed somebody to teach me how to master them. So imperfection is part of the design. It's not something to shrug, oh my God, it's all terrible. What am I learning from this about what I have to do about myself? What is it teaching me? And
exactly.
Yeah, and
you're an amazing man, young man, and so go to stuartperrin.com, find out all about him. You can work with him, and he is a very instructive teacher, and he can help you. He can help you help yourself. He can't fix anything for you, but he can show you a way so that you can work on yourself, because nobody else can do that for you, only you. That's true, isn't it?
That is so true. And I tell that to my students all the time. I'm not going to, I can't fix you. You have to fix. I can only show you how to do it. Then you have to learn how to do it. And if you take the teachings, you will use them to fix yourself. But I can't fix you. I don't go around with people 24. I don't run the Kundalini CIA, going around checking on people 24 hours a day. I teach what I teach, and then you have to learn how to use it to help fix yourself. I can't do that. You can do that. And exactly what you said, Kevin, and it's true,
And the ripple effect that it will create in your life and the lives of those around you is profound. Have you found that also to be true?
Oh, I could tell you stories. We can go on for 3 hours about the ripple effect, how my mother began to study with me.
Cool.
No kidding. When I was a kid, I was the black sheep of the family. I mean, they didn't even want to talk about me. They thought I was so crazy. He has a guru. He's in Europe. He's in this. He's traveling, hitchhiking all over the world. He wasn't becoming a professional with a house in Scarsdale with a white picket fence and 7 television sets, and they wouldn't. And one day, it's a true story. I went to my aunt's house for dinner. She was having the whole family there, and they invited me. And I discovered that my cousin was sick in the hospital, and she had a very serious cancer, and they gave her like a month to live or something. And my aunt came up to me with tears in her eyes, and she said, "You're into all this stuff." She said, "Can you do anything to help your cousin who's in the hospital?" So I learned healing from my teacher. He trained me in this. And I said, I'll go to the hospital tomorrow and find out. So I went to the hospital, and she was lying in bed. She had a belly. I mean, she had a liver tumor, and it
Oh,
metastasized. It was terrible, And the first question I asked her, I hadn't seen her in 10 years. And I asked her, do you want to live? And she said, yes. I started doing the work my teacher taught me with her. And 3 weeks later, the whole cancer went into remission. It was unbelievable. The doctors didn't know what happened. And she was going around telling everybody at Sloan Kettering Hospital, you got to get my cousin to work on you. I mean, it was unbelievable. Anyway, I 3 weeks later, she walked out of the hospital.
well, with energy is an amazing thing,
Amazing.
and that's how Reiki works, and
Do I understand it, Kevin? No. If anybody asks me to explain it, I can't explain it.
but the cool thing is you don't have to, because
Right.
it just exists, and it's there, and we can all access it. But sometimes you need some training to access it. Stuart Perrin, we have really enjoyed our conversation. You're gonna have to come back again. I'm not done with you yet.
Well, I would be honored. Thank you. It's an honor to be here and discuss this with you.
And I would love for you to give our audience one great nugget that they can take with them for the rest of the day.
Yeah, I can, look, you have to look. First of all, one has to like and love themselves. You have to find your own self-worth. You as a human being were born here to have a happy life. You were born here to live with love, with gratitude, with an open heart. And all one has to do is learn how to do it. That's it. And instead of spending one's life beating oneself up, we can learn how to transform the exact things that are killing us into life-giving energies. But we have to become masters of our inner chaos. And then it all begins to work. Life has a way of, I always tell people, it's like Moses with the wand, waving the wand, and suddenly the Red Sea parts, and then they walk off into the promised land. And the slaves, and most of us are slaves of ourselves, slaves of our inner chaos. And when we learn to master the chakra system and develop that insight, it's like suddenly the Red Sea parts and infinite numbers of things become possible that weren't possible before because we kept them from happening. We blocked them. So that's what I would tell people. Learn how to master your internal chaos. It's possible.
And love yourself, because if you don't love yourself, you can't love anybody else.
That's right. I agree with that.
Because there actually is nobody else. And for somebody that's going to make them crazy in the audience, but it's like, no, we're all one. We're all connected. We are energetically connected to one another, and how life affects one affects all, and how we have the ability to affect each other. And Stuart Perrin, thank you so much for being here. You are an amazing man, and I really appreciate having you here.
Kevin, thank you for having me, and God bless you. And it's just wonderful to talk about this, and hopefully it'll reach the ears of some people, and it'll give them an opportunity to do something about themselves and fix themselves.
That's, as I always say, Stuart, my job is to bring people like you here so that we can talk to people. I let the universe decide who's going to listen to it and when. And it's always going to be the right time for them. So Stuart Perrin, thank you so much for being here. Go to his website, which is stuartperrin.com, and you can find out all about him and spend some time there. There's a lot to learn. Have a great day, everybody. Have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you soon from Positive Talk Radio. Thank you for being part of Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald, where stories inspire and voices remind us of what truly matters. May today's conversation give you hope, courage, and a reason to keep moving forward. And just remember, till next time, be kind to one another, because each other's all we've got.